But what really struck me as odd was a fresh set of tire tracks cutting cleanly into the earth, leading directly into the dense forest. The tire tracks cut a medium width groove into the dirt, looking distinctly like rugged treads of the sheep. Driven by reckless curiosity, I began following the tracks, letting them lead me deep into uncharted, treacherous terrain. The absolute thickness of the forest closed in tightly around me as I took careful and quiet steps into the mysterious domain. Suddenly, the eerie quiet of the woods broke. I froze, overhearing boisterous shouting, and the heavy mechanical revving of engines just ahead. I quickly ducked behind a boulder, pressing my back against a cold stone, and peered around the edge. Down in the hidden clearing, a group of men, with thick burly beards and large plaid shirts, were aggressively hauling massive wooden crates into the bed of a heavy truck. The crates were ominous, built with large rectangular air holes cut directly into the sides. The men yelled loud, chaotic orders at one another as truck tires continued to squeal and spin, creating an awful grinding noise in the earth. It seemed one of the vehicles was severely stuck deep in the mud. Tilting my head, I kept peering from behind the safety of the boulder, trying my absolute best to keep my body hidden in the shadows. But sudden realization hit me. Something didn't feel right. The air behind me had gone completely still. Before I could even turn my head, the freezing, unmistakable steel barrel of a gun was pressed hard against the side of my temple. Simultaneously, a rough, powerful hand clamped violently around my throat, cutting off my air.
Well, well, well. Look what we have here.
The voice sneered from behind the cold seal.
Looks like we have ourselves a visitor.
I didn't bother trying to turn around. I tried to slowly stand up, but the gruff hand shoved me back into the muddy ground with absolute brute force.
No one said you could move.
He muttered darkly. My throat grew completely dry as I felt a pair of hidden eyes glaring down at me from above the barrel. Suddenly, a second figure stepped into my limited vision. Rolling forward, it was a man in the wheelchair.
I warned you once, boy, about wandering around these dangerous territories.
He rasped, his voice cutting through the drizzle.
You walked right into the wrong territory, and now you're going to pay the price.
Please?
I croaked. A man holding the gun snarled briskly, looking down at the wheelchair.
Shall I finish him right here?
The crippled leader hesitated. Then, a dark, sinister grin spread across his weather-beaten face. He let out a low, guttural growl.
Now, if you want to be my pets, we'll see just how friendly they are when they're tearing and fighting over his carcass.
My heart stopped briefly. My blood ran completely ice-cold. The gruff hand violently hoisted me up by the shirt collar, jagged me from behind the boulder, and pushed me toward the makeshift torture device deep in the clearing. Two large weathered wooden poles were planted firmly in the ground, looking like an old-school rack used by poachers for hanging a dead deer or tanning a hide. At the top of the poles, heavy iron chains hung loosely at the sides, designed to keep captured beasts from tearing it apart. A large man hoisted me against the wood ruthlessly, shackling my arms and legs to the contraption. I felt utterly, terrifyingly helpless. I strained against the metal, trying with all my might to pull my arms free, but the device held brutally tight. A long, sharp whistle suddenly cut through the clearing from the mouth of one of the trappers. Instantly, a pair of crazed, mangled wolves bound out from open crates. They were growling savagely, their deranged jaws snapping viciously in the air. They lunged, stopping only inches away from my shackled legs, taunting me, testing me, trying to make me flinch. Pure, unadulterated fear enveloped me as I stared into the eyes of these feral beasts. The man in the wheelchair let out a second sharp whistle and gave a firm nod.
Unleash him.
The handlers unhooked the chains, and the crazed animals went straight for my throat. I squeezed my eyes shut, bracing myself and waiting for the agonizing pain of tearing flesh to come. But, to my utter surprise, a massive crack echoed through the clearing. Suddenly, the tension on my wrist vanished and my feet fell heavily to the ground. I opened my eyes and gasped. A different pack of wolves, each the monstrous size of a horse, had crashed into the clearing and now was standing guard directly over my body, its sharp wart canines bared at the poachers. Up on top, a small dirt hill, a massive black she-wolf stood, looking down at a smaller, fierce, loyal army. The man in the wheelchair rolled forward, snarling in absolute fury. He ripped off his dark aviator sunglasses to glare up at the she-wolf. With the glasses gone, a deep, jagged scratch was revealed across his left socket, the horrific mark of an old infection that had completely claimed his precious sight in that eye.
You're a damn traitor.
He screamed at the wolf. The she-wolf raised her hackles to the sky, letting out a low, threatening snarl. She began her descent down the hill toward him. A blind-eyed man rolled straight toward her, his face twisting into evil glare.
I thought we had a deal. You bring me the boy, and I won't cage you like the useless bitch that you are.
Wolf padded closer, completely unfazed, until her massive muzzle was only inches away from his face. Ripping a terrifying, vibrating growl right into his eyes, she snarled and then sneezed straight onto him, snorting in absolute failed defiance. Enraged, the leader growled and slapped her hard across the face. She wolf didn't even flinch. Snarling, she instantly snapped her jaws around the man's wrist, bending it clean in half. Before he could even scream, she violently ripped him out of the wheelchair, launched his body through the air until he slammed hard against the thick pine tree. Pure beastly violence broke out across the clearing. Guns fired in rapid succession, muzzle flashes lighting up the gray woods as teeth clashed brutally against fur and skin. Piercing yelps of pain and roars of pure anger echoed through the valley. Terrified and free from the rack, I turned and ran as fast as I could, fleeing deep into the uncharted woods. As I sprinted, I could feel a powerful, overwhelming force falling close behind me. Vicious growls echoed through the trees, accompanied by the thick scent of pine and adrenaline. Twigs and heavy branches snapped in rapid succession as massive blurs of gray moved swiftly and effortlessly through the foliage on either side of me. My breath grew raspy and shallow. I pushed heavy, wet leaves out of my path. My lungs burning, I could hear heavy, synchronized panting, keeping perfect pace with my steps. I wasn't sure how far from the poacher's camp I was, but I knew I had to keep pressing forward. I kept running until, without warning, the tree line broke. I skidded to a violent halt, my boots throwing up dirt as I reached an absolute edge of a massive sheer cliff. There was nowhere left to go. I pressed my hands flat against my knees, gasping for air as my wet hair hung loosely over my eyes. Slowly, I stopped breathing and I turned around. The shadows at the edge of the trees shifted. Could feel a dozen cold, hungry eyes closing in on me from the dark brush. I stood there frozen, completely cornered and waiting